Alright, let me just say something really quick before this episode gets started. The fanny pack is definitely back. There's going to be more about that in the next episode, let me tell you. The fanny pack is back. Because I'm actually rocking one right now. And also, I hope my voice doesn't sound so high-pitched because in the last episodes that I've noticed, like, this microphone is making my voice sound so much higher than it really is. And it makes me sound like I'm 14. Like, I'm 18. Like, my voice ain't that high. It really isn't. Anyways, the fanny pack is back. Hopefully the peace doesn't get disturbed by these guinea pigs in this episode because as soon as I started talking, they started moving around. So hopefully that doesn't disturb the peace. However, I just got back from a super long trip in California, and now that I've basically had every means of transportation this world has to offer, I'm gonna talk about that. So, the basis of this episode is traveling by plane, car, or train. Like, what is the best? What's the most reliable? Or bike, even, too. What's the most reliable? What's the quickest? What's the best way? And when does it seem necessary to fly by plane to your next destination? So, like, for a lot of people, they'll either fly from, like, let's say you're in Michigan and you're going from like Detroit or Jackson or Lansing or Kalamazoo. When does it come point? Do you drive to Chicago? Do you fly to Chicago? Or do you take the train to Chicago? When does it come acceptable to take a plane from one location to the other? Or does someone just prefer driving a car? Or like, do they just prefer taking the train? Like, what is the best means of transportation for each individual prospective person? So, I've been traveling by plane from here in Michigan all the way to California, doing like connecting flights and everything like that. Yeah, so I was out to California to visit my brother, and honestly, taking plane was the coolest thing ever. Which, by the way, California could be a possible destination for a duty station for me. At least possible. Like, is it likely? No, but it's a possible duty station for Point Hueneme. But I'll probably get stuck in Gulfport. Anyways, looking forward into this travel topic. Plane, car, bike, train, what means of transportation? And in my opinion, traveling is something everybody around the world would like to do. But if we're talking just domestic travel here, we're talking just in your prospective continent, no crossing waters, okay? We're going from state to state or from province to province, no crossing seas, okay? So keep that in mind throughout this episode. Because when you're going overseas, your only option pretty much is by plane because, you know, ferries and, you know, boats like that aren't so readily available to everybody. We're talking about means of transportation that are available to pretty much anybody. So, is more than a couple hours of driving make it reasonable to fly? Like, to Chicago, it's like 4 hours by train. It's like 2.5 hours by car, I believe, or maybe it's more. Actually, I should look that up really quick, just so I have, you know, viable driving to Chicago. Alright, I'm looking this up right now just to double check. So, okay, travel math, sweet. 3 hours and 30 minutes, and it's like 4 hours by train. So, is it worth flying the 45-minute flight, or do you take the train, or do you just drive? So, economically, I don't know what a flight is to just Chicago, but it can't be that dang expensive, that's for sure. Or like, for some people it would be like from Kentucky to Tennessee, you know? In my opinion, fly whenever you can. I love flying. Flying is the sweetest thing ever. The launch is fun, going up high in the air, seeing down below. It's super cool and it's super sweet, and I recommend that to anybody who can do it at any possible time whenever you have the money to do it. However, train when going to like a place like from where I am out in the country to like Chicago, I'd say take the train instead of driving. However, if you just want to do a road trip, which by the way, I don't like road trips that much. However, if you are with the right people having a lot of fun, they can fly by. But the fact of the matter is a road trip is usually only fun one way, because on the way back, it drags on, and that's a pain. So, I would personally rather fly everywhere. But then the problem is you don't have your car. And if you take the train, you don't have your car. So the huge benefit of driving everywhere is you still have your means of transportation, which is your car. Which is honestly a super, super big positive and upside to traveling by car. But my my honest, non-professional opinion, flying by plane is definitely an experience that is like business-like. It gives you time to like think, sleep, create, or anything you can really think of on a plane as long as you're sitting in your seat. Everybody should at least just try flying once. It's a very unique thing where you're launching like 35,000 feet in the air. I've flown a couple of different times, but like my most recent time with California, I flew like 4 different planes, and they were all different types of planes, and they're all, one was more enjoyable than the last. So yeah. I've experienced some good flights and some bad flights, but I still love flying. I've been on long flights and short flights, day and night flights, but personally, if you haven't flown at least once, you got to try it. You may hate it, you may love it, but you gotta just do it. Car trips or road trips, I've done a few. I've went to like Colorado in a car. That was pretty much the main road trip that I've done. Excuse me. I had to sneeze for a second. Anyways, so yeah, the Colorado one was like the main one that I did, and that was like 13 hours. It was crazy. I believe it was 13 hours at least. Maybe not. Maybe it was longer than that. I don't really remember. But they're tedious, and they start to drag on after it's done, and it never seems worth it in the end. Even if you had a great time, you look back and you're like, I wouldn't want to do it again. And then when you end up doing it again, you're like, well, why did I do it again? But yeah, like, it's great when you're on the vacation and everything. But when you're driving, you tend to drive through a lot of nothing. Like, we had to go through Nebraska, like the dead middle of Nebraska, and there was nothing. There was no sightseeing during that time. And road trips are only, worth it if you're seeing sights and seeing different things. And yeah, like, there are a lot of stops in between to get like ice for the cooler and food breaks, and I'm not saying that's bad, but it's a part of the journey, and those stops are just like your layover in an airport anyways. Now, air and car travel are great, but what about train? And let me just say, the train, subway, public transportation, just give me an Uber over that stuff. The train is a very cheap and reliable means of transportation, and you'll eventually reach your destination with very, very little risk. But pause for a second. I just want to mention we officially are reaching an international audience, so thank you to everyone for listening. Our first international audience member was in Chile, so that's pretty awesome. Thank you very much. Anyways, back to the show. That's just a mid-pause break real quick. Continuing. But check this. As someone who's traveled on every means of transportation that exists, flying is worth it anytime you can, and opportunity you can see, take it. Road trips, do it at least once. Some people live roading, so like, people will pretty much have a conversion van, and they will just live in it and travel the United States for their entire life. And their means of money will pretty much be like online funding. Pretty crazy. And maybe that's you. Some people ride trains across the nation, and sometimes trains are only means of transportation. There are so many good and bads about each type of transportation. So like, really, you can't just decide on one mean of transportation. You have to use way more than one. And that's honestly so true. You will never be able to just use one means of transportation for the rest of your life. You can't just use just train, just car, just bike, just plane. You have to have more than one. And The main two nowadays are walking and driving. That's just fact. So, my honest opinion, flying is the most fun. It's the most enjoyable. And it goes by relatively quick. Now, you may have a long flight because I went from one side of the country to the other. But, nonetheless, it was worth it. So, if you are the type of person who likes quick transportation or long transportation, it depends. However, if you don't like driving or heights, you're going to have to go with the train, obviously. If you don't have a license, obviously you can't drive. And if you don't have the money, it's going to be train. So, it's going to be like train and Uber in it and everything like that. However, there are people on YouTube who have gotten Uber drivers to drive them one side of the country to the other for like world records and stuff like that, which is really cool because there's a random guy that's doing it. That guy is, of course, getting paid a big lot of money. So, it's pretty cool. You really gotta be up for it. And traveling is a beautiful thing. If you have never ever traveled out of your state, even, like I've never traveled outside of the country. But by the way, another means of transportation is like a cruise ship. Like that's not domestic, obviously, but I'm going on a cruise ship here pretty soonish. So I might make an episode about a cruise ship, or like a quick thing about cruise ships as well, like an episode. But that will come probably season 3. But yeah, transportation there's so many means of transportation. So whatever your main thing of transportation is, think of the opposite and try that out for a day. Try it. So if your main is like car, try train. If your main is like flying, if you're like a businessman, you fly everywhere, try taking a train to your next destination. Give yourself some more time to get there, unless it's like obviously jam-packed and you can't do it if you're trying to do several stops. But if you just have one stop and you got to get there in a week, travel by train to get there. That'd be cool. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously if you're flying by plane, you have your means of transportation already there. So if you're just going by train, it's going to take you longer to get there. But have that experience. Know what it's like. You can get some work done on that train. Do whatever you got to do. Catch up on your sleep. And honestly, it ain't bad. However, sometimes train seats can be largely uncomfortable, but just do it. Do what Nike says, just do it. Which I also want to mention, my jersey collection is growing largely. I have a Rasheed Wallace jersey, number 36. I got Blake Griffin, number 23. Andre Drummond, number 0. Tayshaun Prince, number 23. Those are all Pistons jerseys. As well as I got number 23 from North Carolina, Michael Jordan over there. I got a couple custom jerseys, and yeah. Just wanted to mention that really quick, because I'm kind of a jersey geek right now. Kind of going through a little phase of jerseys. But, yeah. That's pretty much the end of transportation. However, I just want to talk about some other things really quick. If you guys own any pets, what do you guys have like a routine with them? Because I feel like I don't have a routine with my pets. I got like 5 guineas and a dog, and I feel like my routine with my dog is I sleep with her, and I pet her, and I play with her during the day a little bit, but like I don't have like a routine for her. She just kind of follows me around, and I love on her throughout the day. The guineas, I feel like I only hold them like once a day, and they don't get enough attention as they need. So I wondered if you guys have like a routine or something like that, because I need to get one for my pets. Anyways, this episode is shorter. However, it was pretty fluid, pretty good. I hope you guys definitely enjoyed. Episode 3 coming up soon, probably air next week. We didn't get the 3 episodes in this week just because I launched this season when I was in California. Didn't record there. I was just spending time with my brother and nieces and nephews. So I recorded this episode as soon as I got back home. So there won't be another episode airing until early next week. Today's Saturday, April 7th, and this episode will be going live 8 a.m. Eastern, April 8th on a Sunday. So the next episode will probably be on Tuesday, like the 10th, I think it is. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Excuse me. Thank you guys for listening. This is a podcast. There are no cameras here. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it a lot. And I will catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.